Hey, what's happening, everybody? It's me, Crazyfrankie, and I'd like to welcome you to my Week 16 4 key game picks. Before we get into week number 16, I don't know what else to say about what happened in week number 15, but it definitely was maybe one of the wildest NFL weekends in probably in recent memory. I mean, look at what happened in week number 15. You had a 33 to nothing comeback from the Vikings, also known as the Colts choke job. And you also had a wild snow game in Buffalo, which really, in all honesty, the snow didn't come till like the fourth quarter of that game. An incredible game between the Dolphins and the Bills, definitely a playoff game. The Bills ended up winning in a field goal at the end. And then everybody, I'm pretty certain you know what I'm going to say right here. Everybody's still talking about that dumbest. Now, I don't know if I want to say it is definitely the dumbest play in NFL history, but the way that the Patriots, Jacoby Myers throws a lateral in the end of the fourth quarter in a game that was tied, throwing it to Jones of the defensive player Jones when he was supposed to be throwing it to Mac Jones laterally into him. The Raiders running it back for a touchdown, and they ended up winning. I cannot. That's definitely one of the most dumbest plays I've ever seen, and I cannot believe something like this happened to a Bill Belichick team who supposedly is supposed to be the greatest coach in modern football. All of a sudden, his coaches allowed this utter stupidity to happen to them, and the Patriots now, I don't know if they're going to be able to recover from this because this is a devastating loss, especially when they're trying to keep their playoff hopes alive, and the Raiders also trying to keep their whatever slim playoff chances they have to try to make the postseason. Just a wild Week 15 of any regular season weekend of NFL football that I have ever seen. And obviously, a bigger news going into this, anybody who, especially a lot of Eagles fans are holding their breath right now. Jalen Hurts hurting his shoulder against the Bears last Sunday, so it is big time worry. Right, I don't know if I want to say if it's like big time worry for the Eagles, but it's really hard to say if it is. I mean, we don't know if he's gonna. I mean, the odds are he's probably not going to play in the game against the Cowboys, especially now that the Cowboys doing their best to catch the Eagles, but. I don't know if the Eagles, if it's worth putting in Jalen Hurts for this upcoming game. And that is a game that I will get into small discussion about, as that's going to be one of the key games I will get into in a few minutes. Anyways, I got to keep it short and sweet here. Obviously, it's Christmas week, and I've already been behind schedule, especially, I'm going to be busy before Christmas. And I'm sorry this video was very late, but just so many things I've been trying to accomplish and finish up, so I apologize for that. Let's just talk about week number 16, shall we? All right, let's begin with key game number 1, a big one on Thursday night. It is the Jaguars versus the Jets. Both teams trying to get a playoff position, but for two different reasons. Now, the Jaguars are trying to catch the Titans because that is the only way that the Jaguars are going to get in the postseason is if they can catch the Titans for the AFC South, given the fact that the Titans have lost 3 in a row and now barely clinging on to that AFC South lead. The Jaguars are still like 2 games, I think they're 2 games behind them at the moment. But obviously this is big because if the Jaguars start getting on a roll, it all could come down to the final weekend of the regular season where the Jaguars will face the Titans, possibly for the division title. So it's kind of getting scary if you're a Titans fan, given how the Jaguars last week had come back and beat the Cowboys in an embarrassing loss for the Cowboys. Trevor Lawrence in that game, 27-42, 318 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception in that game. Now, Zach Wilson and the Jets, they're also struggling. They lost to the Lions. The Lions are surging. I mean, you give the stats. I mean, Zach Wilson had to play because Mike White was still not capable of playing because of some injury he had against the Bills a couple of weeks ago. Wilson went 18 of 35, 317 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception. Is the Jets defense going to be more prepared for this game for Thursday night? Because they had to come after losing on a last-second field goal, as they missed a game-tying field goal. The defense really did not do a good job against the Lions, and given that the Lions' defense themselves are average, and you would think that the Jets would find some way to get some offense, because that is going to be the key. Zach Wilson, since he was benched and just coming back, I mean, he played a decent game last week against the Lions, but I can't necessarily say if it's good enough for him. given the fact that the Jets defense, they were strong in the first half of the season, but they struggled. They've been struggling in the second half of the season, and this was a team that looked like a lock for the postseason, but it doesn't look like appearing right now. If they're having trouble defensively, I mean, they barely lost to the Lions, and given that the Lions offense struggled last week against them. Now, in the Jaguars' case, I mean, it really took until the second half for the Jaguars' offense and Trevor Lawrence to make any sort of offense. It's an interesting type of game I can see in this one here. But I'm going to make a pick right now in this game, and I'm going to base it off the fact that if the Jets' defense continues to struggle and they're not able to really make plays and hopefully get to Trevor Lawrence, I like the Jaguars in this game at -1.5. The Jaguars are a very slight favorite at 1.5 here, and I'm going to pick the Jaguars here. I think the Jets' troubles are going to keep on continuing here. Their playoff hopes are fading fast. And given that the Jaguars' offense has come alive in the last few weeks, I'm not going to be shocked at all if their offense continues to get better and better. So, yep, I'm going to go with the Jaguars in this game. I think that the Jets defense is just having way too many problems on trying to stop they've had trouble getting to the quarterback, and they've had trouble stopping any sort of big plays that they could. So, yeah, I'm sorry to say that, Jets fans, I don't know what's happened to your defense, but really the defense really has been a problem for you guys this second half of the season. And I think it's going to continue in this game. I like the Jaguars in this one here. I'm going to pick the Jaguars at -1.5. Jaguars over the Jets. All right, key game number 2. The Cincinnati Bengals versus the New England Patriots. The Bengals are surprisingly, they're only a 3-point favorite in this one here, given the fact that what happened with that other stupidity play that the Patriots did last week against the Raiders. Now, Joe Burrow is 27 of 39, 200 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 1 interception in a comeback victory for one of his big comeback victories for his first big comeback victory in the NFL. That's what I'm trying to say there. Now, the Patriots, Mac Jones was 13 of 31, 112 yards, no touchdowns and no interception. He really had a terrible game against the Raiders, given the fact that they were able to tie the game, and the fact that the game was tied, and obviously you know what happened after that with that boneheaded play from Jacoby Myers. This is really significant now for the Patriots, because this is basically their playoff hopes dwindling if they don't win this game here to try to keep any sort of playoff hope alive for this team. This is actually going to be short and sweet here. I don't know if the Patriots can recover from what happened last week against the Raiders, and given the fact that you're playing against a surging Bengals team that is starting to look like they're now trying to show the entire AFC conference that they're still the defending champions of the conference, and you still have to get through us if you want a chance at the Super Bowl. And the way that the Bengals have been playing, this team is on a roll. They've taken over first place in the AFC North Division after the Ravens have struggled. And given the fact that their offense just is lining it up, and they can show you that they can come back from any deficit. It is really tough it's going to be tough for the Patriots to play in this game, given how the Cincinnati offense just looks so spectacular as of late. Joe Burrow has really got that offense going for the Bengals. I like the Bengals in this one here at -3. I just think that I don't think the Patriots are going to recover from the loss last week against the Raiders. And obviously, when you're playing against a tough Bengals team, I don't really give Pats any sort of chance, to be honest. They might make it a football game, but I just think the Bengals are going to be too much for them. Their offense is way better than the Raiders that the Patriots played last week. And I like the Bengals in this one here. I think the Bengals will win. I mean, the odds makers have it at -3. I think the Bengals will probably win by 10 or something like that, because their offense is just way better. And I think the Patriots are going to really struggle in this game. I like the Bengals in this one here. Bengals at -3, Bengals over the Patriots. Key game number 3, the Green Bay Packers versus the Miami Dolphins. It is crunch time now for the Packers. They've won their last few games, but obviously, if you look at the standings, right, if you look at the current playoff seedings and where they're positioned and their current record right now, the Packers have to win all their remaining games, and they're going to need a lot of help along the way for teams to lose, aka they have to hope that the Commanders and the Giants lose all their remaining games to have any sort of hope. And the Lions as well. But I look at it from this point here. I would say that this is, for this game, I don't look. They wouldn't. If the Packers were to lose, they wouldn't officially be eliminated yet. Depending on how it has to depend on outcomes of other games. But personally, for me though, this is a win or you're eliminated game for the Packers. To be honest with you, because the Packers are barely trying to get into the postseason right now, and they are playing at a desperate level right now. And the way that they took care of the Rams last week, Rodgers went 22 of 30, 229 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Better stats than he's had in a while. And especially given the fact that Dolphins are also trying to keep their slim playoff hopes alive. They're barely clinging on into the post. They're barely clinging on as the 7th seed right now, currently at the moment. It is really interesting to see how this matchup is. It should be a good one in Miami. Now, Tua against the Bills, he actually played very well against the Bills. He went 17 of 30, 234 yards, 2 touchdowns, and no interceptions. But obviously, the Bills' offense really stepped up in that game. The Dolphins are a slight 3.5-point favorite in this one here. That number will probably go to 3, maybe 2.5, before the start of this game on Christmas. Packers offense, it's really more of the Packers defense here. They gotta get to Tua in this game. That is because given that he's got Tyreek Hill and Waddle, I mean he has his tandem, and this is where the Packers defense really needs to make some plays here if they want any sort of chance of beating the Dolphins in this one here. I consider this game a toss-up, to be honest with you, given how the Dolphins have struggled in their last few games. But I think this is a game that they're going to get back on track. They know that they want in the postseason, and their playoff hopes are dwindling if they don't win this game here. I think it might be the end of the road for the Packers in this one here. It'll be a very, very close game. It should be a good one. But I think this is where the Packers' road is going to end right here in this game here. I'm going to go with the Dolphins in this one here. I think their offense will definitely give the Packers defense some trouble here. It should be a good one, but I think the Miami's offense with the tandem of Waddle and Tyreek Hill, if Tua can get the ball to them and the running game going, I think the Packers are going to have a hard time in this game, especially if they're not at home, they're on the road, and given the humidity in Florida and here, I think it's going to be a long game for the Packers in this one here. I'm going to go with the Dolphins here in this one here. Should be a good one in Miami. I'll pick the Dolphins at -3.5 on this one here. Dolphins over the Packers. And finally, key game number 4, the Eagles versus the Cowboys. Both teams are already in the postseason. They've already clinched playoff berths here, and there is no official status yet, as far as I know, as at the time of this video, that Jalen Hurts will play on Saturday. But for the sake of argument here, I'm going to say that he's not going to play. I'm not 100% certain that it's not official yet, but I'm going to assume he's not going to play. You have to go with Minshew. The Eagles are going to have to go with Minshew. Prescott in a terrible loss to the Jaguars last week was 20 of 30, 256 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. The Cowboys offense has been struggling lately. It's really more that Prescott's is really struggled, even though despite coming back against the Texans and the Cowboys having a lead, but really their defense just gave it up. With Jalen Hurts hurt for the Eagles here, I think the Eagles' offense will definitely is already taking an enormous hit in this one here. And this was a game I was actually anticipating for a while, given the fact that, right for the Eagles, if they beat the Cowboys in this one here, they clinched the NFC East and possibly home field advantage as well. But I think that the offense is definitely going to struggle without Hurts. But if you're an Eagles fan, you don't want Hurts playing in this game because you want to be able to have him long term, and especially you want him healthy in the postseason. I think for the sake of it, I'm going to say that Hurts doesn't play in this game, and that's why I'm going to make this short and sweet. I'm going to pick the Cowboys in this one here, given the fact that Hurts is not playing. So it'll probably be a close game, but I just think that the Cowboys should win this one here and this one here right now. But I just think that the Eagles, having Hurts sit out this game, I think would be better for them. And that's what I'm going to go with. And I'm going to base it off of that. I'm going to pick the Cowboys in this one here. They'll barely beat the Eagles here, but I think the Cowboys win. So the Eagles' chance to clinch the NFC East will probably wait until week 17. So I'm going to pick the Cowboys in this one here based on what I just said. It's going to be the Cowboys -5 over the Eagles. All right, everybody, that wraps up my picks for week number 16. For all my week 16 picks, please check the description below. I'll talk to you guys next week. Enjoy your Christmas, everybody. Hope everyone has a splendid holiday, and I'll talk to you guys next week when I make my picks for Week 17. Take care and enjoy your football weekend.